All right, shall we call the Belvedere City Council Committee of the Whole meeting of June 23rd, 2025 to order. If the clerk will help me with the roll call, please.
Albertini?
Here.
Brereton?
Here.
Fleury?
Here.
Frank?
Here.
Gramkowski?
Here.
Hoynes?
Here.
McGee?
Here.
Montalbano?
Here.
Peterson?
Here.
Stevens?
Here.
10 present.
All right, thank you, everybody. Do we have anybody registered for public comment? We do not, okay. Public forum, we have none this evening. Flipping the page, before I get carried away here, Gina had placed some information regarding 2025 Heritage Days, schedule of events for June 27th and 28th, downtown and off-site. That is on your desk. Certainly we are going to have, as I had said before, offered, if you would like to ride on the float. I won't be driving, so you'll be safe. But feel free, certainly, to do that. So the schedule of events is part of your packet along with the route. If you can make it, it would be nice to see you. So as long as the entries, we have the entries for the floats of the participants in front of you this evening. So thank you, Gina, for that. Second page, reports of officers, boards, and special committees. Item 1, public safety unfinished business. We have none. Item 2, public safety new business. Police Department update. Chief Woody, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you. Since last month, the following update, the Police Department still has 5 police officer positions available. We have Officer Lee, who's still in FTO. Recruit officers Shook and Smaha are at Sauk Valley Basic Academy in Dixon. We currently have 3 officers on leave. Police Department has a Fire and Police Commission meeting scheduled for July 2nd. Where we'll present 4 entry-level backgrounds and 2 lateral applicants for approval. Applicants that are approved will go on to the polygraph in the next phase of testing. We've posted for several overtime details over the 4th of July holiday, and we also have posted for overtime hire back for cruise night and have requested state police assistance with any additional enforcement that may be necessary. That would conclude my update for this evening, and I'll answer any questions that you may have. Thank you again, Mayor. If you would turn to the motion in your packet, Belvedere Police Department requests that the council accept a check from the Boone County Treasurer on behalf of the Boone County Department of Public Health in the amount of $1,500. Check is intended for the Belvedere Boone County Explorers Post for their participation in and assistance with the tobacco and alcohol compliance checks that are conducted by the Health Department. Funds are distributed as part of the grant funding allocated to the Health Department for the compliance checks. I would request a motion to accept the $1,500 donation from the Boone County Treasurer on behalf of the Boone County Department of Public Health to be used by the Belvedere Boone County Explorer Post.
Aye.
Those opposed? Erica, I did find that right here. It was right in front of me all the time, so sorry. Sorry about the panic look. Item C, intergovernmental agreement. In your packet is a memo from Chief Woody dated 6/23 regarding state line area narcotics team. Chief?
Thank you again, Mayor. Attached is a copy of the IGA between the City of Belvedere and State Line Area Narcotics Team. The agreement spells out the authority, organization, duration, procedures, and purpose for all agencies involved with the task force. Task force is responsible for the interdiction of trafficking of narcotics, guns, and humans within the participating jurisdictions. I'd request the motion to authorize Chief Shane Woody to sign the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Belvedere and State Line Area Narcotics Team.
All righty, if I could have a motion to that effect. Motion by Alderwoman Gramkowski, second by Alderman Peterson. Thank you both. Any questions regarding the motion on the floor? Any for Chief? Feel free to ask. Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And if there's any opposed, motion passed. Thank you. Thank you, Chief Woody. Item D, Fire Department update. Chief Shadle, good evening.
Thank you, sir. To give you guys an update on last month's runs, in the last 30 days, the crews have been busier than average with 337 calls for service, equaling over 11 per shift. There were 12 fires last month. Of those, 5 building fires. Of the 5 building fires, the ones that were in town were 3, and one was due to a power line that came down on a house during a storm. One was the pallet storage facility in the McKinley block, and the other was we had a exterior fire on a trailer in Balboa. So outside of that, we had 207 EMS calls. We had 11 car accidents with injuries. We responded to one of those car accidents required extrication, 2 gas leaks, 4 carbon monoxide incidents, and again, like I've always said, that means carbon monoxide was found. There's a different code if they get called for that, but that's not what they find. So 4 times it was found in a home, so make sure your detectors are plugged in or have batteries or both. Just particular to the topic tonight, we had 3 unauthorized burning calls and various other calls. Of those EMS calls, 179 patients were transported to area hospitals, a little above average, so that was 6 per day. 13% going to Javon Bay, 39% going to OSF, 13% going to UW Rockford, and 35% going to Belvedere. Year to date, fiscal year to date, we've collected $192,667. Just as a reminder, our cost is about $153,000 per month. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of facilities, Station 1 and Station 2 update. There were things that we budgeted for, and some in the capital plan, some in the repair and maintenance budget for Station 1 and 2. We're soliciting repairs for Station 1 sill repair, the entry flooring inside Station 1, some bathroom construction inside Station 1, the Station 1 concrete approach, Station 1 and 2 seal coating, the Station 2 concrete approach, and then redoing the floor inside of Station 2, which is going to require redoing of the floor drains. Those floor drains probably are original, but they've over time shifted and cracked, and so they have to be cut out and then re-cemented. So it's fairly extensive, but a lot of, if we did nothing as they sit, there's trip hazards. So there could be trip hazards, so we definitely want to fix that. We've made everything as safe as possible and in the time being until it gets done. And then Station 2, once that floor is done, it's refinished. One thing I wanted to note about those projects is all the prices are coming in significantly higher than expected. So I'll obviously come to you guys with, try to get 3 bids on everything, and as soon as I get everything to you guys. 2% also agreed to contribute $9,500 for the front entry update to do flooring and painting in the front office. So it's hasn't been done in quite some time, and so I want to thank the 2% board for that. That completes my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, if there's any questions for Chief Shadle, Alderman Peterson?
Thanks, Mayor. Chief, do you think that the failure in the floor drains is going to be undermining than the concrete? In addition to everything else, you think that it's such that the drainage is undermining the base?
Yeah, I see what you're thinking. Fortunately not. The way the drains are made, they're just trough drains, so they're not actually piping drains, and they're right cast into the floor with those steel grates. They have some pre-made products that we were working through most of those projects through a grant. They've been on the capital plan for a couple years now. That grant hasn't come through, unfortunately, and so we capitalized them again. But those drains, once they're cut out, there's a commercial trough drain that just gets laid, and then you add back the cement on the either side. So there's no concerns for weakening of the floor itself.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. And any other questions for Alderwoman Frank?
Thank you, Mayor. So is this a budgeted item, these repairs?
Yes, everything was included in the budget. The more expensive ones were capitalized, and some of the less expensive ones were like the entry flooring and the bathroom plumbing work was under the station maintenance and repair budget. So yes, everything was budgeted.
Okay, well, that's good news then. So you'd like to try to get this done this fall?
Yeah, I'm just waiting on, it's actually difficult to get 3 bids for everything. We've been working hard to get all those bids in, and for none of those projects we've been working on it for about a month now, able to get all 3 bids already in. So we're hoping to have them, the concrete needs to get scheduled before too long, because otherwise we'll get into winter months, and then we're looking at next spring, and then we're looking at that's tricky for completion before the fiscal year is up. So we're hoping late fall.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Yeah, the work that you have down there at Station 2, that's not as significant as what we had done at Station 1, obviously, with, that floor having a basement underneath it and what have you. But it's certainly, we would like to get it done before the seasons change, so.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All righty. Thank you, Chief Shadle. Appreciate it. Anybody have any other questions for Chief Shadle? All right, we'll move on. Item E. In your packet is a block party request form for Belvedere First Assembly of God Church, located on 7th Avenue and West 5th Street. They're going to have a carnival and a car show. The date on that is August 16th of this year, 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. If I could have a motion for approval. Motion by Alderman Peterson, second by Alderwoman Gramkowski. Thank you both. Any questions or comments? Alderman Montalbano, I know, would be able to help me out with answering that, but feel free. Anybody on the council or Alderman, if you have any comments, feel free. Or any questions from anybody else. All right, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And if there is any opposed? All right, motion passed. Thank you. Item 3 on the agenda, Finance and Personnel unfinished business. We have none. Item 4, Finance and Personnel new business. We have none. And I'm sorry, Finance and Personnel new business. We have Finance Department update. Finance Director Turnipseed. Sorry about that.
It's all right. Thank you, Mayor. Our audit is underway for fiscal year '25, and the auditors from Stickage were on site last week and are here this week. as well, and I have remained busy with providing them documentation as requested. Just a reminder, a letter was sent out to City Council in May from the mayor on behalf of Sickage requesting a questionnaire to be completed and returned. If you have not returned the form, I have extra questionnaires for you to fill out. At the same time, I've also been working with Lauterbach and Amen and completing the census data for them as they are preparing the actuary reports for our police and fire pension funds. And then on another note, you've probably noticed since April, I have been submitting a new report with the city council packets called the Monthly Financial Report, which compiles all the city's financial accounts and balances in each account on a monthly basis. If you have any questions on this report or would like additional information, please let me know. And that concludes my update.
All right. If anybody has any questions for Sarah, please feel free to ask. I know she'll be more than happy to answer them. All right, and I do want to say that, you know, our finance director, I must be living right because when I'd hired, originally, when I'd hired Shannon, Ms. Hanson, I was thrilled that we had such a wonderful professional as a finance director. But I would say that, you know, we have the same thing here in Sarah Turnipseed. So very grateful, appreciate your help, all the work you do, and the city's in great shape, so thank you. Under 5 other unfinished business, we have none. 6 other new business. Item A, Country Homes Deer Hills 1 annexation agreement. In your packet was a memo from City Attorney Drella dated June 9th. City Attorney?
This is just the next step or another step in the ongoing Deer Hills saga. As you know, we are now contiguous to the original landmark development. We have sent out demands to annex all the properties, and they're coming in quickly, but there will be a gap period between the time that those demands went out and annexation actually occurs. It could be anywhere between 4 weeks to more like 8 weeks to a year, depending on how fast we get all the signatures in. Country Homes still owns about 15 vacant lots in the southern subdivision, and they have some under construction, being inspected and things like that. They have closing dates for some. So what this annexation agreement does allows them to continue building, continue receiving inspections under our auspices until the annexation is actually complete. The annexation agreement before you basically is that kick the can down the road agreement we talked about before. They are subject to all the same codes, ordinances, agreements that were in place in the original agreements, and the impact fees are also still in place. So the recommendation would be to forward to the City Council approval of the annexation agreement with Country Homes, which will simply allow them to continue building the same as if they're in the city until such time as they're annexed.
All right, if I could have a motion to that effect, please. Motion by Alderman McGee, second by Alderman Stevens. Thank you both. Questions, comments? This will come back in ordinance form, of course.
Yep.
Feel free, anybody has any questions, try and answer them. All right, hearing none, all those in favor of the motion on the floor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
And if there's any opposed, same sign. All right, motion passed, thank you. And item B, memo in your packet from Attorney Drella dated June 10th, 2025, that being the annexation of the Deer Hills outlots. City Attorney?
And again, this is another part of that same ongoing saga. Directly east of Beaver Valley Road, fronting on the residential subdivisions, Deer Hills 1 and Deer Hills 2, are 3 outlots that are essentially water retention detention. They are contiguous to the city. As part of the settlement agreement, Landmark Development did sign petitions to annex those lots. Unfortunately, that was done after the publication for when we annexed the Rigman property and the others. So this simply takes us one step closer to those residential lots to allow their annexation, hopefully, like I said, within the next 8 weeks to, I'm really hoping 12, but we'll see what happens. Again, the vast majority of the lots in Deer Hills 1 have now signed petitions to annex. There's just a few remaining. And in Deer Hills 2, The ones that are improved lots, most have signed, and I'm waiting on some of the owner of some of the vacant lots to sign, which I anticipate getting in the next few days. So those could come down the pike pretty quickly. This simply gives one more domino towards reaching that full annexation, so I would recommend approving an ordinance annexing the Deer Hills outlots. I believe it's A, B, and C.
All righty, the motion would be motion to annex outlots A, B, and C as designated on plat number 1 of Deer Hill subdivision, recorded May 16th, 2006, as document number 200-6R-05230. If I could have a motion to that effect, please. Motion by Alderman Peterson, second by Alderman McGee. Thank you both. Any questions, any comments regarding the motion on the floor, regarding the annexation of the Deer Hills outlots? It's definitely a step in the right direction for the city and to clean this mess up. So that's where we're at. If there's any questions regarding it, please feel free to ask. All right, hearing none, all those in favor of the motion on the floor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
If there's any opposed, same sign. Motion passed, thank you. And last on the agenda is we had discussed the review of the outdoor burning ordinance. We had some discussion this morning at the staff meeting, and city attorney has mentioned to me that in some of the past ordinances, we've had perhaps a fit that would probably satisfy the parties, all parties. So, city attorney?
So what I just passed out to you is the portion of our code that was in effect prior to 2007. Prior to 2007, the city essentially had a ban on the vast majority of open burning, with the exception of certain ceremonial fires. Think of the homecoming fire they used to have at the high school and things like that, which required a permit. In 2007, the council at that point decided to allow open burning along the same lines as the ordinance that's in effect now, which was commercially available fire pits, hardwood only, no excessive smoke. If there was excessive smoke, the fire department could go out and put the fire out. Then again, in 2023, the council amended that same section to put in a requirement that the fire had to be watched by somebody at least 18 years of age at all times, have a hose nearby or a fire extinguisher nearby, and to prohibit burning within, I think it's 25 feet of any structure. So it's been kind of a graduated move that we've been going down. If the council, and I guess one of the things they're discussing is to basically revert back to where we do not allow open burning. And so I think the easiest way to do that would really to, if you council wish to go that route, simply go back to the code that was in place prior to 2007, which prohibited open burning. The one caveat or change I would make to that code is something that is now common that you can get from Amazon or Walmart, wherever, which are those propane or natural gas fired fire pits. You can buy them, they come as a table or with lava rocks on, whatever, and they burn either propane or you can hook them up to a natural gas line on your house. They don't burn wood, so those might be appropriate in a new ordinance. But probably the easiest way to do it, if the council wishes to ban burning of firewood in the yards again, would be to readopt the 2006 ordinance, which I just passed out to you, adding a new subsection 6 to allow the usage of fire pits that burn natural gas or propane only.
And if we could have a motion to that effect for discussion's sake, I would entertain that. And motion by Alderman Peterson, thank you, and a second by Alderman Stevens. So we'll open this up for discussion. Alderman Montalbano?
In that, with the propane only, that's great. But today they do make a fire pit that is a smokeless fire pit. Can that be installed? Okay. You can no smoke, you don't smell it.
Mhm.
But some people like to do this rather than
Yeah.
propane.
And that is certainly something that the council could do. The current ordinance would address that. The current ordinance, I should say code, which is adopted by ordinance, does have provision in it, frankly, that if we were able to enforce it on a regular basis, would cover the current complaints. And that that essentially provides that, let me find the right section. It's in subsection B7. I don't know if you have the current code in front of you, but it allows the fire department to order the extinguishment or extinguish any fire if it finds that the fire violates the section order that constitutes an immediate nuisance to surrounding properties, and defines that as being a nuisance if it creates bothersome smoke or dangerous flames or sparks to the surrounding properties. So essentially, what you're suggesting would fall in place with the current code that we have in place. The problem you have is the fire department gets called out there. In your scenario, it's not going to get rid of the smoke, because everybody's going to say, I have a smokeless fire pit, and either not use it correctly or think they have one and create the smoke. What I was explaining to the chief, because he and I were going back and forth quite a bit about this, was he was trying to think of ways where we could allow it in some cases. And from an enforcement provision, it's a lot easier to say yes or no, rather than, it's allowed in this kind of fireplace. Well, then the technology changes, and then what's allowed, and they come into court and they say, I bought this, judge, and it said it was a smokeless fireplace, but it turns out it wasn't. Certainly we can do that, and that's something I think the council should consider, but the difficulty comes in on the enforcement side down the road. It's much easier for a firefighter or police officer to walk up and say, that's hardwood, you're not allowed to burn that, than trying to determine how much smoke it's creating.
Yeah. I think, originally when the ordinance was looked at and was made so that there was a no-burn ordinance, was, as you recall, the gentleman that was here a couple weeks ago, or last week, I guess, as he talked about, on a nice day, you have your windows open, and you have somebody that claims they're burning something other than what they are. And, it puts enforcement in a trick bag, because I know that people have gone out and they've said, yeah, that's hardwood. And it may be, but it also is also jeopardizing somebody else's public safety, or perhaps they got asthma, perhaps a family member has asthma, they have their windows open on a nice day, and believe me, that's some of the complaints that I get, and then they have to contend with it. And it puts enforcement in, as I'd said, in a real trick bag to be able to do that. But it's all in what the council wants, but to me, I think somebody's wishes to breathe clean air probably goes hand in hand whenever they passed secondhand smoke laws in the state of Illinois. They did that because a lot of people said, well, if you eat over here and you're on this side of the building, that smoke isn't going to bother you, which was nonsense. A lot of good people from secondhand smoke, they suffered severe health effects from it. And finally, they did the right thing. And they made it so individuals that were dining in a bar, or individuals that worked in these establishments who had to contend with that 8 hours a day, they finally changed that law. And I think in this case, probably the burning is convenient. People may like to do it, that's fine. But does that supersede somebody else's health? And I think, to me, that was the question, and that's why I wanted to bring it forward. But the city attorney's correct. It puts enforcement, Alderman Montalbano, it would put enforcement into another quagmire as to, here's what I got, prove it isn't. And so I think that the fuel source for whatever is being burned, or whatever is being burned, should be something that's identifiable as natural gas, perhaps propane, but leave the wood products out of it.
As you debate this, I think it's important to understand what the current code says versus the possibility of a ban. Currently, since 2007 until 2023, the city allows the burning outside only of wood suitable for an indoor fireplace, excludes specifically yard waste, leaves, weeds, grass refuse, and other waste products. It can only be burned in a commercially available outdoor fire pit, so you can't go put rocks on the ground. You have to go to Walmart, whatever, and buy a fire pit. It cannot be bigger than 30 inches in diameter. It must be supervised by a person over the age of 18. It must have a lid that you can put over to keep the sparks and stuff in. Now, not everybody's going to use that. We realize it, but it has to have that. You must have a hose or a fire extinguisher near the fire. It specifically provides that if it is creating smoke that's bothersome, that's a nuisance and the fire department can put the fire out. And it requires it to be at least 25 feet from any other structure, including not just your structure, but your neighbor's structures. That would include actually technically fences. Would have to be 25 feet away from a fence. So the code that we have currently is fairly restrictive. The reality is, though, if the concern is smoke, absent using a device like Alderman Montalbano talked about, the only way to do that would be to prohibit outdoor burning. The chief talked about limiting it only to food preparation, which we do allow for grills and things like that, and this would not change that.
No.
You'll still be able to make your burgers using charcoal or gas or what have you. But the reality is, yeah, okay, I'm going to roast s'mores with my kids. When anybody wants to have a fire, I'll say, I've got my marshmallows, I'm going to roast s'mores. You know, it really wouldn't stop anybody from burning and creating that smoke. So the only way, if the smoke is the issue, the only way I can think of doing that would be to outlaw the burning of any kind of wood or anything like that, limit to propane or gas, or if the council wanted to consider the route of the smokeless fireplaces, it could do that. I just worry that that could create an enforcement problem down the road, but it's up to the council ultimately.
Alderwoman Gramkowski and then Alderman Fleury.
Thank you, Mayor. I kind of like the ordinance the way we have it. Honestly, I like going out to my backyard and having a fire in my fire pit that I purchased, and we're responsible for that. If it's smoke and that kind of thing, what about in the wintertime when people are having a fire in their home? I mean, I go outside and I smell that smoke when I'm shoveling the driveway. We cannot stop that. I think banning everything is just way, way too restrictive to me anyway.
Okay. All right, thank you. Alderman Fleury.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I think, I appreciate Mr. Roden coming down here and sharing his concerns with us. And I think the problem is the smoke that's a nuisance is the people that are doing it illegally, that are burning their yard waste and branches and all the things of stuff we already have an ordinance on. I think instead of banning it for everybody, I think there are, a lot of citizens that burn responsibly. I'm also one of those. I enjoy a backyard fire, but I burn seasoned hardwood. It costs quite a bit of money to spend on that, and you have all the money you invest in that. So I think the problem is just the enforcement. I think a better way to solve this problem, just like with fireworks, we increase the fines so that if we have individuals that are constantly a nuisance, and for a gentleman, it's not fair that you can't open up your windows. But I know if I have a hardwood fire, the smoke is not that much of a nuisance. Even to I have a neighbor who does have asthma, and he's never once complained about a fire. Again, being responsible. I think a way to enforce this is we already have an ordinance, like Alderman Gramkowski said, that I think is fair and reasonable. I think what we should look at is, for the folks that are not doing it correctly, is to maybe have a bigger fine, or especially if there's a second offense, to have a huge increase between that first and second offense. I talked to Chief Shadle earlier. He said within the last year, I think he said there were a handful of calls, but there were only 2 repeat offenders in that. So sometimes citizens may not know, but again, just because you don't know the law doesn't make you exclusive from the law. So I think that we kind of say there's going to be a bigger increase, because if we ban everything, the people that are doing it wrong are still going to continue to do it wrong, because that's their mindset, and that's why we have we have lots of laws and people break them every day. That's what keeps the police in business. We have folks that, although there's laws that do everything to protect us, they still want to do it their way. So I think my opinion would be not a citywide ban,
just maybe have a bigger fine for those folks that are doing it illegally.
Thank you. Alderman Peterson.
Thanks, Mayor. I would throw out there some factors to consider. And, you know, the smoke that we get that's incidental to your lawful purposes, like for cooking or in the wintertime for heating your home, and I think that's perfectly understandable that will create smoke. The smoke that you create that becomes a problem to your neighbor, it's like the old bromide that says that your rights end at my nose. And if somebody, you know, if you got a neighbor that has COPD or asthma, and I think we're all aware of the western wildfires, and the Canadian wildfires have been kind of an issue a good part of the summer, and you can only imagine as America ages and as people in Belvedere age, we're going to continue to have breathing problems. It's very hard to mitigate the lawful bonfire that you have in your backyard to a neighbor that really doesn't appreciate it. And good neighbors, you know, thoughtful neighbors don't do that to a neighbor probably. So I'm all on board with Mr. Roden's concern, because it's very hard to mitigate that for your neighbors once the smoke has lifted. And it's a good time in your backyard, but it's not a good time in his lungs. So I would say I would be on board for, you know, for trying to mitigate that where we can for neighbors, and also to try to, even if there is going to be you know, these burning pits or these manufactured burning barrels, I would say we'd want to specify a distance too, rather than just saying not having them be close to any exposure. I would also want to say, you know, we'd want to make sure that there would be a distance. And I also, for way of argument, I would also offer that the bonfires solely for the purposes of ceremonial occasions are probably that, I see that as kind of a pig in a poke, unless you require them to get a permit from the fire chief.
The original.
You know, anybody can have a ceremonial fire.
The original code did require the permit from the chief, the one that we were talking about going back
Yeah.
to.
For instance, Belvedere High School used to have a bonfire, and that would be something that they would be able to come and get a permit from the chief. Before Chief, I did want to say this, that you know, I don't think that, I don't believe that you know, in the winter, when people have a fireplace fire, it's a little bit different than when you have a hot day, and some individuals may not even have air conditioning. Then you have a fire in the summer that happens to have the wind blowing behind it into your house or into your open house when you have your windows open. I think in the winter, if people are using it to heat their home, which isn't a lot, it isn't a lot of people, but I think your house is pretty much sealed up. You don't have your windows open. If those who don't have air conditioning and maybe have some health effects, lung issues, I don't know how you escape that. And I think if Resident Roden had come down here, I don't think he was coming down here probably for anything other than his health. And I think we have to put ourselves in certain situations regarding that. Chief Shadle, did you have some comments?
Yes, sir. I was just going to elaborate a little bit on the permit for ceremonial. Right now in our current ordinance, it does require that. In the past 3 years, I've only had 3 requests once annually for, there's a Boy Scouts group that does it, and the gentleman asks his neighbors, and it's on a particular day, and then he, like I said, he goes around and talks to them, make sure they don't have any issue with it, and then our code enforcement official goes out there and looks at the site, and then we issue a permit for that one. So there is, I believe even the new version, I didn't see your new version, but that it had ceremonial fires with a permit.
It's an old version.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it does.
It's in there.
Oh,
It's from 2006.
okay. And then just to give some objective evidence, Alderman Fleury called me later this afternoon and asked about some data. And I already had it pulled up from 2 weeks ago in case you guys had questions on it. But last year, in the last 365 days, we responded to 49 calls for unauthorized burning. I sorted it according to addresses, and I did find that Only twice there was a repeat offender. Now, I have to admit, we don't have a process in place to track that, but we could. We have 3 shifts, right? And then people go to different stations. So in the past, there isn't a lot of ordinance violations or any. The only one that has ever been written, allegedly, Attorney Drella couldn't remember, but it was myself as a company officer when someone was fairly, they were non-compliant, and they were non-compliant twice within the same shift. So, and was also uncooperative. And in that instance, it was the ordinance violation, $100 fine, court cost. I would enforce it according to, obviously, what you guys would recommend. We currently don't write citations when we go there and educate somebody. So we give them a copy of the burn ordinance, we let them know, and but it's not like we go out and seek that. If we see a little bit of smoke over a fence, we're not going to currently peek over the fence and do that and explore that. Dry season hardwood is actually something that is pretty hard to get. It's like the stuff if you buy it in the store and it's been inside, that's dry season hardwood, very little smoke. People, if they stack it outside and it's not covered, what kind of wood is it? So like when you talk about the difficulty in enforcing that, I mean, there's, you can, moisture detectors, it's dry season hardwood is supposed to be less than 20% moisture, and I would guess that, well, I know it would be incredibly difficult to enforce. What kind of wood is this? Is this a hardwood? And the vast majority are, currently that we see, is unauthorized, but our current practice right now, I wanted to make you guys known in case you desire something different from the fire department, we go out and we educate. But if it's fully compliant and there's not a nuisance smoke, we don't, at this time, we don't make them put it out. I've had a neighbor call from 4 houses down, no fences, and I'm pretty sure they couldn't smell it or see, but it was just like a neighbor dispute issue. But I've seen the other side of it. I've seen, we got called recently, and I know the mayor catches a lot of phone calls, because then he calls me and says, hey, can you send your crews out? So I know they're calling you all times on the weekends. If you're out mowing the lawn, they stop you. And so I know that the mayor catches a ton of these calls, because we go out and respond. And there's a legitimate other side to it, where if I have a health issue and that wood appears to be dry season hardwood, but it's not. Currently, we don't have them put it out unless it's actively making smoke. If it's actively making smoke and someone calls, and it's obviously going towards someone's house, then that's when we define it as a nuisance, like visible smoke going towards a house. So there's a couple sides of this. There's also enforcement. It's really for, like the mayor said, you guys to weigh it and decide, and let me know how you would like things carried out, either way you go.
I will say, from an enforcement perspective, I don't recall ever having one of these in court. The chief remembers writing one. I don't remember prosecuting it, and I know that I haven't in recent history for sure. If it were to go to court, and if we were to prevail at a trial, or if the person pled guilty, the city's minimum fine of $100 plus court costs would be assessed, or something higher. Your minimum fine currently is $100 plus court costs for a total of $200. So your first violation is going to be $200 currently. It goes up from there if there's repeat offenders. But yeah, I haven't even had this in court. So
Alderman Peterson, then Alderwoman Graham-Kowski.
A couple of other factors I would throw in. The main thing probably being a quality of life thing. I mean, you have a balance. You can balance it, gee, it's nice to have the group over and have a little neighborhood party and have a little fire at night, but in a case where you have people that might not have central air and might not have the ability to afford the electric bills that come on a day like today, if you're driving them inside because they can't bear to have the windows open because you're outside smoking them out in the comforts of your backyard, I think it's, that deteriorates from their quality of life and does very little to the person that's been denied a little campfire. And the second factor is we seem to more increasingly have drought conditions in this area. And I think, we shouldn't have to tell somebody that you don't want these outdoor burns when you have drought conditions going on, but I don't think you can safely assume that universally.
Alderwoman Gramkowski?
Thank you. So I did get a call last week about someone that was burning treated lumber. It was a tear down of a structure, and I guess the flames and the fire was like over 6 feet tall. I get that. For a family having a fire in a fire pit from 8 o'clock at night to 10, I know the gentleman that came in said something about people that hang their clothes outside. Well, I don't know many people that have like a fun holiday party when it's 2 PM with a fire going. I don't know anybody that does that, quite frankly. So to me, I think we could go down this rabbit hole, and I think that's what it is, because I don't like my neighbor over there that has a pool party every weekend till 10 o'clock at night, violates my noise when I have my windows open. I just don't think it's a good idea to ban all burning. I think if it's responsible, like the current ordinance, I think that's okay.
Okay. Alderman McGee?
Yeah, thank you. I'd just like to say I agree with everything Alderman Fleury said, and the constituents that I talk to, that I represent, really enjoy having a fire pit, occasional fire on a weekend or what, and I do also. I like the ordinance that's in place right now, and I would probably like to see us try to curb the abusers, maybe with some fines, or like I said, if they're burning stuff they shouldn't be burning, if they're throwing plywood into the fire pit or something, I think that needs to be corrected. But I'd like to stay with the current ordinance.
Okay. Alderman Albertini?
Thank you, Mayor. I concur with Grankowski, McGee, and Fleury. I don't have one because to have a fire 25 feet from my structure or any structure, I'd have to put it in the middle of the street. But if I could put it somewhere, I would like to have one. I think if you take care and respect your neighbors by burning the proper stuff, you're okay. You were mentioning in the winter about the fireplaces and the smell of the house being sealed. I have a fresh air intake for my furnace. I could tell when my neighbors are using their fireplace to heat their home, so yeah, you could still tell. I mean, and that's got nothing to do with it as far as the fire pits go. But I think the fire pits should stay. I mean, the fines are fine if you want to get the abusers or the people who really do it. I think the thing about the fire pits is people who use them should use a little courtesy to their neighbors. If they do say something to them, respect them. They're your neighbors. Maybe move it a little somewhere else, or try to figure out a way of diverting, get a fan and divert the smoke away from their house. I don't know. But I don't see banning the fire pits a good idea.
All right.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any other comments? All right. I think it is important that for those individuals that, may not bother them, but I think the gentleman was down here last week, as you may recall. By the time he may not be home, he may have his windows open, and you may not be home, you may not have your windows open, and then you come home, and your house, as he had said, his house was filled with smoke, and so wasn't all of his furnishings. And that may be okay with the individual that's decided that they want to have their fire. But if you were on, the shoe was on the other foot, you may not feel as happy about that. You may see it differently. And it's up to the council what you do, obviously, but I think we had a legitimate concern that was brought to the city. We had outlawed burning in the city of Belvedere. We had done that at one time. And the reason that we had done it is because individuals, they were tired of people that were really making their quality of life poor. They were burning, and it was if the wind was directed through their windows, or if they were outside, they had health issues. They didn't appreciate it. And I know that when the gentleman was here, I thought he'd made a case for that, but certainly we have a motion on the floor. And if there's any questions regarding the motion, feel free to ask before we vote. But Alderman Fleury?
Just to be clear, the motion is to ban fires citywide, correct? That was the motion?
To ban burning of wood products, and to have any outdoor burning be either a natural gas, or a propane. And as I understand, that's the motion. If there's any other discussion, feel free to ask or comment. Okay. Hearing none, we'll probably go ahead and take a roll call vote on this one. All those in favor will, when their name is called, answer aye. Any opposed, nay. As the clerk calls the roll, please.
Albertini,
Nay.
Brereton,
No.
Flurry,
No.
Frank,
Nay.
Gramkowski,
Nay.
Hoynes,
Nay.
McGee,
Nay.
Montalbano,
Nay.
Peterson,
Aye.
Stevens.
Aye.
Okay.
2 in favor.
Motion fails. We will come back, I suppose, regarding some of the penalties then, and I think that was brought up. And we'll come back, and we'll see if we can't put a little bit more teeth. I think one of the problems is going to be continued enforcement. I think we're going to see that it would be nice, Alderman Albertini, if people would respect others people's property, their wishes. And if they did, probably the police department wouldn't have the number of calls they have, or the fire department, either one. But we all know in a real world that isn't going to happen.
That's
And
unfortunate.
well, it is unfortunate. It's definitely unfortunate for those that may have to contend with it. So anyhow, we'll come back. We'll look at them. Chief, did you have your hand up?
I was just gonna say, admittedly, the fire department can do more as well. I've already added it to the front of the website where you can see exactly what it is. I simplified it. We'll post it, and we'll try everything within the current ordinance to try and reduce that as much as possible. If it's something is egregious, I will instruct the crews that we would probably ought to fine them, because when I was doing research, I didn't find any communities that are municipal or urban that allow burning of yard waste. So I think when someone says, well, I lived here and I moved here, that's universally unacceptable to, people have burnt things that, someone was sawing apart a camper and burning it, and we could smell it as soon as we left the station. And, I don't think that person got cited. I mean, we're firefighters. We want to take care of everybody and just be well liked by everyone. And so we can do our best, though, to help the community and be considerate to those individuals with breathing problems. I'm sure the first couple enforcements that go through court will end up on what's happening in Belvedere, and we'll get then people will know that fines are taking place. So that's just all I wanted to add, sir.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll get some of that information. We'll come back, and it'll be up to you to decide how you want to work with that. So that's all we have on the agenda this evening. Thank you for your time. If I could have a motion to adjourn, please. Motion by Alderman Peterson, second by Alderwoman Gramkowski. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And if anybody wants to stay, for the record, we adjourned at 6:54 PM. Everybody have a good rest of your evening. Thank you for attending.